Even before they'd announced who the Pope was, the crowds in the square were dancing and singing and shouting, just the Pope had been elected. Yeah, they didn't know who he was.
I remember that moment because it could be days, all of a sudden. And then that, you're right. It doesn't really matter who it is. And of course it matters who it is, but in a way it doesn't. The fact that the white smoke is out there, the church is back to her where it was you ought to be.
Got a meter.
And people can breathe out. And then, of course, there was this anticipation who it was. And a lot of the coverage we received here in New Zealand was American. So when it was announced, of course, this man is from the United States, that was incredible.
And a lot of people have commented on that. And I said, yes, he was born in the United States. He was educated there. But, he's had 20 years in Peru. Yes. He's had 12 years as the leader of the Augustinians.
He ticked a lot of boxes. Looking back, even though beforehand, I'm not sure he was at all tipped by pundits, and I think, John, I don't know what you think, but that's a sign that the Spirit's in action. It's not about the political realm or who might be favoured or not. It's really about who the Holy Spirit wants in that. And you must think you had strong sense of that.
I was absolutely convinced that this was the work of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
The fact that his name had come to the fore so quickly, and it was obvious within 24 hours really of him being elected that he was a man who was about the gospel, not about himself. He had already picked up messages of Pope Francis, and clearly an Augustinian, and he said straight away, I'm a son of Augustine, and some of the Augustinian spirituality threads have come through that already. Yeah.
And some nice things too, personal things, his brother got some news coverage, they called him Bob, and he loves tennis. Yeah.
John, I think, look, not only his brother,
yes,
when he went to Rome as the prefect for the Congregation for Bishops, he started going to the gym a couple of times a week at least. And he's now got a little gym in the Apostolic Palace. But when his photo appeared on the papers immediately, it was an hour after, or about 2 hours after the election, there's this huge photo of him in the papers all around Rome. And the guys in the gym saying, that's Bob.
John, it was a wonderfully privileged look at that whole process. Thank you so much. And I'm guessing of all the cardinals, no one travelled further. Come on, New Zealand's furthest away. Just to finish, we've discovered, of course, that Leo was elected with a consistory, but he rather favours that dialogue. He wants more consistories. He's been one recently.
Yes.
Since, and he's indicated that he'd like this to be some sort of regular event so he can hear from his brothers.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So he had that consistory in January. It started we were asked to come, invited to come, and really said, Orion, what you hear, if you can, be here for the Feast of the Epiphany, which we were. So we were present for the closing of the Holy Door, which was very powerful. We were quite close to him as he closed the door.
So closing the door on Francis a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, he began the Holy Year.
Yeah, yes. And then the meeting started the next day, and he warmly welcomed everyone, thanked them, especially, he said, special thanks to those who have come from a long way, because many of you have, and special thanks to those who are over 80 who have made the effort to come. He said immediately that night, I'm here to listen to you. And over the 2 or 3 days we were there, he said a couple of times at least, you put me here, now you've got to help me. Which is a humble sort of way of saying, I need your help. But in between time, we use the synodal process rather than just sitting in the auditorium with listening to endless talks, as we've done at synods for years. And in between time, he wandered around and chatted, and
He seems very personal. I've not met him myself, but I look forward to that chat.
very
Ease about him.
Yeah, absolutely. The day after the election, we had mass with him in the Sistine Chapel, and the day after that, the Saturday, he said to us after that mass, "I'd like to have a meeting with you tomorrow on the Saturday morning." So we spent a couple of hours back in the auditorium, where he just spoke briefly, but he said, "I want to listen to you," and quite a number of people spoke, and he was listening. He's a great listener. You can tell that, listening intently. And they had asked us if we had a copy of what we spoke about in the hall in those, and if it, especially if it was typed, just to put our names on it and leave them for him to read, So he's very open to listening, and
John, you might not know, or perhaps you do. Of course, he's just announced he's coming to Australia for the Eucharistic Convention, and we've had a little contact with Leo, and we're rather hoping that either before or after his time in Australia, he might come to New Zealand. Who knows? No, nothing official about that, but we're hopeful that perhaps in this part of the world he might even come here.
Yeah, he actually said to me at this last consistory, I was just sitting at the table, and several of the groups had finished, so he was just wandering around chatting to people, and I felt this tap on my shoulder, and I was, oh my God, I've spoken. And he saw, and what surprised me actually is that he called me by Christian name. Well, I'm not just some guy from BC, remember, shot my name. And he said, "John, I've never been to New Zealand." He said, "Well, that's not quite true." He said, "I stopped at the airport once in Auckland on my way to Australia." So I said, "Well, you need to remedy that."
Yes.
So whether he will come.
John's been wonderful. Thank you for your time. How are you feeling? You've given this talk often. My personal observation is that people are endlessly fascinated with these things. The church, all around the world, in fact, there's an particularity or a sense that the church is a renewal or a revival or a new springtime in the church. Let's hope. You must be a second sense of things.
Yeah, I do, and I believe that an enormous impression and a sense of the church, of the gospel, comes from the way Francis did things. Yes. I mean, the thousands of people that line the roads going from St. Peter's over to St. Mary Major's, thousands and thousands and thousands. And the following day, we didn't go to the actual burial, but it had been decided during our meetings that we would go over there on the Sunday afternoon for the Sunday evening Vespers.
St. Mary Major.
It's St. Mary Major, sit down. So we got over there, I think Vespers was 4:30 or something. We got there about 4. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, 170,000 people had visited his tomb in that day. So he was just held in such esteem.
Yes.
And I think Leo has picked up, and all naturally is a people's person. So, there's a great interest in the church, and just the people who were there and the things that were said about him, about Francis. It's been an incredible privilege. And one of the things that has amazed me is, as I mentioned, was that the interest here. I mean, it's now nearly 9 months, but I've still got people saying, "Can you come and give a talk about the conclave?" And so the interest hasn't waned, because there is a fascination. And I think part of the fascination is the world looks at this process of electing a pope, electing a leader who has incredible influence or can have incredible influence on the world, and he's chosen by the Holy Spirit, not by millions of dollars spent on electioneering and campaigning and that kind of thing. It's just a completely different thing that people are fascinated by.
And the tail chimney. It's from Perkin Rip that lets us know. John, lovely to have you here. Welcome home. Can I say the could be in the coming months?
Yeah.
And thanks for taking time.
Peter, thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you.